Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LJMU MA Short Film Festival. For the listeners, it's new voices. For the viewers, it's new faces. We're back. We're regenerated for a whole new year of film festival. I am Max, an MA student here at LJMU.
And I'm Devan, also an MA student here at LJMU, because that's how this works.
What are the chances of that? What a small world. What are we doing here?
Talking about films.
Fantastic.
What are your Letterboxd top 4? Go.
My Letterboxd top 4, or out of the gate.
Yeah,
okay.
out of the gate.
La La Land.
Okay.
Top 1. It's beautiful.
Damien
What a
Chazelle.
picture.
Like it.
Dead Poets Society.
Interesting.
Monsters, Inc. Lord of the Rings. The Fellowship of the Ring. The best one.
Hang on. There's no way you have Monsters, Inc. in your top 4 films of all time.
It's the best film ever made. They're right there. They're right there. Look at them. They're beautiful. Move on. What is yours?
Damien Chazelle again. Whiplash.
It makes me cry, that film.
I know. Phenomenal film. Arrival. Not The Arrival. Oscar corrected me on that last time. The Arrival is apparently a completely different film.
Yeah.
What else did I have? Gone Girl.
Okay.
Yeah. And Good Will Hunting.
Nice. Okay. Good Will Hunting and Dead Poets Society, they're kind of...
Yeah,
yeah.
It's that Robin Williams effect.
We're just like that, you know?
Yeah.
Those little brains connecting. Okay, so for the actual short film festival, what are we here to talk about today?
So, today, let's have a bit of a talk about the actual festival itself, as well as... Well, we went to Aesthetica, didn't we?
We did.
To do a bit of research.
Yeah. The first time I think either of us have been to a film festival.
Yes, actually, yeah.
It definitely was for me. I don't know, I don't keep tabs on everything you do in your life.
Only most things.
Most things. No, what did you think of it, actually?
Aesthetica's a
Be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice.
If Aesthetica are listening, I love you guys. I hated it. No, I didn't hate it. No,
honestly.
That's probably too harsh.
Yes, it is.
It's a difficult one to talk about, to be honest, because whilst there are elements that were great, like it was so good that it was kind of spread out through the town, but that was also a downside to it because it was so far between everything.
I know, but York's lovely, isn't it?
It is. It's a nice walk, but like some of those venues were noticeably different to the others.
Okay, yeah.
And I'd say the programme was questionable for some of the strands.
This is true. But I do think it had a good range. Like, for us, we have 4 strands.
True, but
they had a very wide array.
That's true, but we are very limited by the fact that we only take student short films.
This is true. True.
However, that being said, the quality of some of our films is definitely better than some of the quality of the films that made it into Aesthetica.
That's true. I think it was the issue I had was programming this festival whilst going to Aesthetica, because when it came back to actually like remembering what films I wanted to be in this festival, I had this like mental collapse where I was swapping films from this festival and Aesthetica, and I was trying to find specific films to like put through and be like, that was a banger in this list. And I was like, where is it? It was in Aesthetica, and I watched it in some kind of tired fever dream.
Yes. And we were at Aesthetica for so long that I actually came back and went to look at the films. I was scrolling through the list on Film Freeway, and I was like, I have no idea what this film is. I have never heard this film in my life. And I'd click on it and be like, oh yeah, I remember that film.
Yeah.
I mean, how have you found programming? Like, what was that like? What strand did you end up in again?
I did animation.
Okay.
Because I mean, obviously.
Monsters, Inc.
Obviously.
Animation.
I love animation. Mm-hmm. I think it's great, and it's one of those things that is often looked down upon and like almost infantilized in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of animation is not taken seriously, and I think that is wrong. Categorically wrong.
I'm inclined to agree. Although, saying that, the BAFTAs last night, right? If you look at the family and kids segment and then the animation segment, it was basically the same nomination.
That baffled me a little bit.
It really annoyed me.
Baffled at the BAFTAs, but I was it confused me like how similar those two things were, and I think it also like it not to go on a tangent here, but
this is going to be tangential.
having like children and family just be all animated films.
True.
Like, where was Paddington 3? Put him in there.
I was going to say, were there any actual live actions that would have made it? But Paddington probably should have made it. Paddington's a special place in my heart.
But even so, like the animations for this particular festival, there was such a nice array of things that I think would be stereotypical in what you would find in like animated short films, like from Pixar or Disney or something, where they're like heartwarming and sweet and maybe a bit emotional, and then also some like really like dark, gritty kind of like adult themes.
There was some in there that were quite weird as well, I will say.
I mean, we'll get to that in our animation.
Of course, yes, when we're talking more about that. But so. Yeah, I know you programmed animation, but obviously we had to do the preliminary rounds where we looked through everything. What was that like?
I loved it. I mean, obviously it was a lot of films. How many did we end up with? Was it
just shy of 3,000, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there was a lot of films to comb through. And I think a lot of them ended up like melding together at some point. So like there were films that I ended up putting through and then watching back again, like when we were in our groups and being like, I don't remember this one.
There was some that I would be like, that's award worthy right there. And then I went back after like the third round of watching all the different films and go,
I was too generous the first round.
Why have I got to put that through?
Half of the films that were made it through on that first round, and I look back at them and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's such a bad film.
No. It'd be nice.
To be fair, the ones that I put through on my initial lists, none of them were that bad. Like there were some films that we got sent in that were questionable quality, should we say, but on the whole, everything that seems to have made it through people's shortlists were pretty okay.
Yeah, but
like,
I love
minimum.
I loved being able to like, as a programmer of the festival, kind of be subject to just like how diverse our kind of our array is. Like the films that can be sent to us, the films that can make it through.
Well, yeah,
it was like there were so many brilliant films that had little budget, little to no budget, and it was like it was almost inspirational in a way to see what people can do with a passion for a story and a camera rather than so much funding and backing to it.
Well, it was really weird because a lot of the films that had the bigger budgets were often worse quality than the films with the lower budgets.
Yeah.
Like I had a film that was, I think it was like 16 grand budget, but it was really shaky and it was like one static shot for like the entire film, and it was a fiction film, but it was so disengaged. It was really, really, really poor. Yeah. But like I was expecting so much more because obviously I went and looked at the spec before while I'd started watching it. I was like, oh, let's have a look, and that was the budget. But then I had films that were like less than £100 in budget, and they were some of the best films I've ever seen.
Yeah, and there were so many films in there as well that I thought like, if this hadn't been brought to me in the festival, I wouldn't have seeked them out myself. And they were some of the, like, genuinely some of the best short films I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And, like, I think most of them didn't make it through because I wasn't programming those strands. Yeah. But if I was, blimey, they would be perfect. Yeah. Those strands would be the best things you've ever seen in your life. But there was so many from, like, so many different countries that you just didn't expect these stories to come out. And especially, like, like how sort of politically gripping some of them were.
Yeah, without actually being too overt about it as well. Yeah. Like, that was the really interesting thing, was I was watching a lot of these films that made it through, and you'd forget that they're student films because they'd been made quite nicely, but then you'd have them properly like encapsulating all that emotion and the actual drive for the narrative that they were trying to push, and that's really something that student films aren't really associated with, if you think about it. Because everyone's like, oh, student films, poor lighting, really poor camera quality, horrendous acting, but these were all pretty good.
And what was your strand that you ended up programming?
So I programmed experimental. I'm really keen.
Why?
That is the question I asked myself when I had the list of films. I'm going to be quite keen to get the boys in to talk about the
boys.
Yeah, the boys.
Get the boys in.
The four fellas. That was a weird programming strand, but we all seemed to be really on the same page about what actually went through, which was really interesting because I know there was a lot of dialogue in a lot of the different groups, but with the experimental ones, it was it felt quite clear the difference between what should be in the festival and what shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Despite the fact the quality was still there in them.
Yeah. I feel in terms of like experimental, like I didn't end up seeing that many in my own, like the films that were sent to me, but they were so like wide in the type of genre or the style of the film it could be, and especially like in comparing like our festival with Aesthetica, they had all of their strands for like genres specific things. So like, how did you find comparing an experimental film that was like of a completely different genre, a completely different style, to something else? Because they're not really comparable, really.
Yeah, it was quite difficult because, well, obviously I'm not going to say too much on it because we want to have a decent experimental episode, but it was really weird because like we'd have stuff sent through that, because experimental you can literally do anything. So even animations can be experimental. It was, you can have documentaries, fictions, literally anything. And we had some come through that were like, they'd been sent through to us by other programmers, and they'd be animations, and I'd sit there watching it, and I'd be like, this is a really good animated film, but there's absolutely nothing experimental about it. It's just an animation that's a bit weird.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That weird film
for me, that doesn't make it
experimental.
Like, I think there was this one about like a tree that just kind of decides to pick itself up and move.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, sweet film, great idea.
You've not tried anything new.
Just because the tree gets up and moves, that doesn't make it experimental for me. Like,
yeah, it was just in the wrong category.
It a bit whimsical.
Yeah. What's wrong with whimsy and experimental?
Exactly, whimsy is great, but if there's no experimentation, then what are you doing? It's not. It should be an animation. It shouldn't be experimental. That's true.
I think we should call right now for whimsy to be brought back.
You want to have a strand just for whimsy?
Yeah. Next year, I hope you're all listening, future MA people. Bring back whimsy for next year's film festival. It's what we deserve. It's what the world needs. More whimsy.
It might be what the people want. I don't think it is, and I think Lydia will hate that idea, but you never know. It might be what the people want.
I'll pitch it to her.
I think she'll hate it. Speaking of Lydia, what were you expecting this year when we first came in and Lydia and Martin kind of sat us down and said, you're going to make a film festival?
Yeah.
What was that to you? What did you come into this thinking it was?
Well, Lydia and Martin are the program leads of this module, aren't they? So they were, you know, at first it's very intimidating. Just like coming into, I mean, we both came from other unis coming into the master's course and everything. So just meeting new people in its own right is, you know,
terrifying.
And when I hadn't obviously had any kind of experience with film festivals before this, you're literally just like, I can't do that. This is for more qualified people than me to talk about these things.
How do you think I felt coming in when they were like, you know what, don't write essays, make films?
Oh yeah, because you didn't even come from film. Like,
no, I did not.
So it's completely
alien.
It's
probably the best word
nerve-wracking.
for it.
And I think like for us, you know, who haven't really looked at film festivals before, the only thing you can think of is like Venice or Cannes or like
the big ones like Toronto,
massive things
like,
where, you know, celebrities come and everything. So the moment they turn around and be like, you're programming a film festival, I'm like, so are we getting James McAvoy in? Like,
like what kind of scale are we looking at here?
Yeah, it's like the scale in my head was so much bigger than, you know, it ever needed to be.
Oh yeah, but it was also really small in my head. Like, I didn't think we'd be getting that many submissions from that many countries. Because when they said, oh yeah, you're going to spend the first like 3 months sitting watching short films, I was like, great. That'll be fun.
I've got it.
Honestly, 3,000 short films and what was it, like 130 countries or something like that?
Around abouts.
That was, it was something else. It was, I did not know what to expect.
So it's like your idea of the film festival, like just programming that, is so huge. But then you look at like the class, or you look at the you know, just into us, and you think we're not going to be able to do anything of that size and everything. And then you actually like get into the swing of things. You see how much people want to get involved in film festivals and getting their films out there and everything. Like,
because obviously. They made it sound like a big task, and I was like, be fine. It's just a film festival, you know? It's just a film festival. Like, it's not going to be a big thing. And then it really was a big thing. And they definitely made it sound like it could be an issue because our group is so much smaller than last year's was. I think they had like double the amount of students working on it. Yeah. Something in that region. But honestly, I love the team we've got. I think there's a really good atmosphere. People are really willing to muck in, and everyone's literally contributing to everything. It's like, obviously, because you get people who'll be like, oh, I'll do the social media, I'll make the trailers, I'll stay away from this thing, but everyone's just kind of crossing over and getting involved as much as they can.
I mean, I do like staying away from the trailers and the
but again, it's, people speak to their own specialties, but they're still willing to help out wherever they can, and it's really nice to see that kind of effort from the team. And I'm really excited to see it pay off for the actual festival. And
it makes me excited to see, you know, like, obviously we're only here for a year, which is sad. Not everyone is. You know, some people will be, you know, mucking in again next year for the new master's course and everything. But it does make me excited to see what will come of that one. Like, seeing the scale of this one and everything, like, as it goes with every other film festival, the scale only ever goes up with like film festivals as they gain more reputation and everything, and I feel like we are doing really well. Ours looks great.
I feel like that's something we're going to have to ask Lydia and Martin about, though, because when you start something as big as a film festival, you always kind of start at the bottom and it grows with each year. And that's kind of helped by having the same team that knows what they're doing over and over again on it.
Yeah.
But the only really consistent thing that they actually have is the two of them. Yeah. So, you know, we've got Great Preston from last year. They started this show. They gave us ideas for social media.
Yeah.
But how do you develop when you've got a revolving door of people coming through every single year?
Yeah,
it must be difficult.
You can't guarantee like the same quality as from one year to the next. Yeah.
Because if you look at, like, there are other student film festivals that exist. There's the one down in Cambridge. I can never remember what it's called. But they claim to be the biggest student film festival in the world. Claim. It's a very easy one to claim. I don't think there's many.
Allegedly.
You know, we're on the way. I mean, look at us.
Two white guys in a room with a microphone. We're so on the way.
But no, it sounds like they have a consistent team every year, and the only thing that really changes is a few students. But they still have a team that's built around that one event. And so it must be difficult to kind of keep it consistently building each year with such a rotating team.
And I'm not sure whether that one is involved in the actual curriculum itself. Like, ours is a module, like something that we have to do as part of the course and everything, which is great because, you know, I feel like if this was a voluntary thing, I would have never thought myself capable.
Yeah, no.
And I'd have looked at it and I've laughed in their face and be like, yeah, no, try someone else. But like being part of the module, being part of the course and everything, you find like different skills that you actually feel, you know, comfortable in and everything. Like programming and everything is never something I thought I had.
It wasn't something I'd ever considered either. When people say, you know, oh, why are you going to study film? What could you possibly want to do with that? It's not something that I think, you know what, I could go and work at film festivals. I could work in programming. I could run social media. That's not something I'd consider.
Everyone's immediate thought is, I want to
direct. I want to star in things. I want to be Christopher Nolan and Quentin Tarantino and Greta Gerwig and all those people. But no,
it really broadens your horizons of what you could do.
That's one of the benefits, I'm going to say, is the way that Lydia has kind of created this Masters in a way that the film festival module has become so core to the entire course, especially with them making it a year-long one now. It's really kind of changed the way the Masters works.
Yeah.
It definitely broadens your horizons in terms of what you want to do and what you can do in the future, because you're now exposed to it and, you know, you have these credits because it is an event and it has been run and it's an official thing. But
and like hosting skills.
Hosting skills.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought we'd be, you know, two charismatic white guys on a podcast?
Exactly. I knew it was my destiny. It was going to happen to me.
It happens to everyone at some point.
Oh, I.
Oh, yeah. So, in terms of actually working on the film festival, I'm going to go back to the programming. I know we've talked about it a lot.
All right, bring it back.
The actual workload itself, how have you found that? Especially balancing the festival and the jobs of the festival with the rest of the Masters. Because obviously it's very different from doing, you know, like a Masters in like maths or doing a PGCE, you know, it's a very different speed of things.
It's very much a never-ending job. Like, there is always
Never ending sounds so negative. Should
I
we say
don't wanna-
ongoing? Lydia
Yes.
will be listening to this.
Hi, Lydia.
Hi,
Love you. No, the thing is, there's always something to do. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
There's just always something that needs, that can be looked at. There's something like, me and Josh are working on the press kits and everything, so that's a huge thing, like an ongoing thing as well. You're doing social media planning and everything, and that is involved not only just like in coming to uni and working on stuff. It's like at home. It goes on. There's so much planning.
It really stretches through the week.
Exactly.
Honestly, though, I quite like that it's never ending because it keeps you busy.
Yeah, there's always something to do.
Yeah, and you often find that when you're studying, they say, oh, your contact hours are only 5 hours, but you're meant to be doing 375 hours more off contact,
In a week.
Yeah. You're meant to, every day and night, no sleep, no eating, read all these books. And I always struggle to do that. I know I shouldn't really admit to that. But I was very bad at it. But having ongoing jobs that need to be done, but they're done for our benefit. They're not just done for for your grade.
The benefit of the film festival rather than just...
Yeah, it's not just to make you look good in an essay or expand your knowledge. It's just, it contributes to everything being better and running smoother. And I think that it kind of really drives you and motivates you into it.
I get that, because I think with other modules, it's very more, it's self-led. It's so much more of it is for your own, self-preservation and everything. Mm-hmm. With this, there's a legacy to it. You've seen everything that's come before. Like, we've seen what all the marketing and everything looked like for previous years and everything, and it's so strong and it's it's so good, and you only want it to be better. Like this year, and you only want it to be better next year as well. Like you just want to be able to propel it forward to become something more than it even is now.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the benefits, I guess, because we were saying it must be difficult having the kind of revolving door of people coming in and out of the festival each year. But I suppose that's also a benefit, is this different group of people did it last year, and we've looked at it and gone, they've done things, and it's great. It gives us a great foundation and some inspiration, but we can do it better.
Oh, it's not even that, but how can we do it different? How can we...
No, I'm too competitive. In my head, we're going to be better than that. For me, it's a benchmark, and we have to surpass that next year, because for me, if you just produce the same festival again, what's the point? Surely you're meant to be improving each year as it grows.
Yeah.
Especially because we're such I'm going to say a young festival, because it's only the 5th edition,
We're only 5. We're only 5.
Good, 5. We're going to talk to Leo about that next week. But no, I do feel like it's benchmarks and barriers that are ready to be beaten and surpassed as best we can, really.
Yeah.
And making it more difficult for next year to be even better.
Good luck, everyone.
Great.
Coming into this Masters, you've got such an easy job. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. What have you, speaking of the actual work outside of this, what have you found of the guest lectures that we've had for film festivals? Because at my undergrad, guest lectures isn't something that we really had.
Yeah.
Obviously there's not really much to guest lecture on in philosophy, but we've
got a big thinker in today, everyone.
This guy, all his time thinking.
Great thoughts on this one.
So what have you thought about some of the, because some of the topics we've had recently have been quite interesting in terms of, we had distribution last week, which is something that always is quite a mystery to anyone unless they're in the know.
Yeah.
And even after him speaking, I was still kind of confused as to how it works.
Yeah.
But he helped a lot, and now we have that kind of contact.
I think, it's great as well, because, everyone who is on this whole MA, we're filmmakers rather than film distributors and everything, but it always helps to know more about how that side of things works.
Well, yeah.
I didn't know much about how to get a film in a film festival. I didn't know how to connect with those people. I don't have a whole lot of, industry connections and things like that. So it's having people come in, with these accolades and everything, who have worked on such big film festivals as Berlin and things that is, it's so brilliant to have these people come in and talk to us and like level with us, like treat our film festival as theirs, and like give us valuable tips on how to improve.
Yeah, because I think that's something I found personally is before I came onto this course, I was obviously making short films, and I was making them and I was kind of putting them out there, throwing them out on YouTube as you do, but
As you do,
because that's one of the benefits of kind of the digital era as such, is you can just throw things out onto platforms, and then it also provides a bit of an issue though, because if you've never been in that area before, it's difficult to know what to do next, because it's all good and well putting it on these platforms, but like
where do you move forward from that?
Because
if you go onto YouTube, then you're pretty much stuck there.
Yeah,
aren't you?
and unless you have insane marketing skills, which is very difficult given how many people are content creators these days.
Yeah, you're making our jobs so much harder.
So much harder. It's just your friends and family that see it. And what comes next? How do you kind of take that next step into kind of getting into festivals and looking towards distribution? And so having talks like that would really, I've found that really useful.
Yeah. No,
it's nice to have those kind of benefits and connections from signing up to a Masters.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
I think that's all we have time for today.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a good introduction, isn't it? We're marvellous.
Well, I wouldn't go far to say marvellous. That is for the fans to tell us.
The fans. The fans of the MA podcast. Fantastic.
Hey, we're going to have a hella following. We're coming for you, Cambridge. Right, so next week, I believe we have yourself.
Me again.
Yes.
Hey.
Bridget and Leo joining us to talk about the press kit that was generated, as you see, the lovely behind us here. That lovely graphic with the gorgeous bird. And then we're also going to talk about, the kind of creative process that went into making the posters and selecting the typefaces that are going to be used for this press kit. Because that's something that's so important to anything, let alone a film festival, is the brand and how you kind of keep that brand consistent.
Well, don't spoil it.
Yeah, I know. I get too excited.
Keep it more for next week.
Yes, I get too excited. So,
thank you
guys for listening.
Yes.
Please join us again next week. We'll see you then.
Bye.